What's going on, guys? Welcome to Everything Always. My name's Michael Roman, aka Allfires. Now, if you missed one of our most recent videos, it appears as though Sony and Marvel Studios have gotten on the same page about what to do with Spider-Man 4. I'll make sure that video is linked at the end of this because it goes over a ton of new plot details as we know them and coming from trusted sources about what to expect from the upcoming fourth installment for the Spider-Man franchise. Now, in the meantime, there is one other huge hurdle that Sony and Marvel need to get past, and that's the brand new contract for Tom Holland's Spider-Man. And that's where we have an enormous update today coming from one of the most trusted industry insider sources about just that, and a new twist to this upcoming Spider-Man deal that would see Tom Holland more in the MCU. We're breaking down exactly what he said, what it means for Peter Parker and the future of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But first, if you could grab the subscribe button, we're starting up the watch parties again tonight for Agatha all along. So if you were planning on watching the show, drop by the channel. We're going to go live around 8 p.m. say Eastern Standard Time, which is an hour before they start. You watch at home as I watch here. We have some great discussion before and afterwards amongst the community before I hop off and do the Easter egg video. So if you're staying up to watch Agatha all along tonight, come by and watch with us at the channel. Of course, do an Easter egg video after the episode. So if you miss it, no big deal. We're also giving away a PS5 at the end for the finale, so if you want to be entered to win, just hit the sub button, leave a comment down below. If you want, stick around at the end of the video. We get into all the giveaway stuff again there. Okay, so this broke just hours ago, late this afternoon, from trusted industry insider source Daniel Richtman. You guys can follow him over on Twitter at RPK News, and as I often say, he is 100% the most accurate Marvel source we have, at least for scoops, and in the last 4 or 5 years, his track record is proven at this point. He dropped an update on Patreon that indicated that the new deal for Tom Holland is now in the works between Sony and Marvel. He confirmed that they are working on it because, again, it's sort of hard to shoot Spider-Man 4, well, and the rest of the Multiverse Saga with a Spider-Man in it if there's no deal with the actor in order for him to show up. He then goes on to specify that the idea is to have Spider-Man appear in more MCU films, but that Feige will still be in charge of the solo films. Now, as of right now, the only places that Tom Holland's Peter Parker has shown up is the 3 Spider-Man movies, Captain America Civil War, it's technically a Captain America movie, but a lot of people call it Avengers 2.5, and then the 2 Avengers films, Infinity War and Endgame. So there's always been this sort of, they reserve Spider-Man for the biggest moments and the biggest franchises, and you have to imagine that from an IP's perspective, that's exactly what you'd want to do. You definitely don't want to dilute the character. So keeping that in mind, and if the plan is still to make a second trilogy with the character, you'd assume they're going to, because we're starting now with the 4th movie. Usually you do a huge IP like this in a 3-part series. That's at least 5 films. 3 new Spider-Man films, and then Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars, assuming he'll show up in both of those, as is the track record for Spider-Man with the new Avengers films. But keep in mind, we also know that Marvel has sort of a long view plan of what they want, as they're already working on films past the end of the Multiverse Saga, like the X-Men live-action reboot, and I'm sure Kevin Feige and the rest of the team don't want to lose Peter Parker right as they're starting to get into the Mutant Saga. So I actually wouldn't be surprised if this contract happens to be for more than just those 5 films, future looking forward into what the MCU already has planned. Now, depending on where you look, it doesn't seem exactly clear what people are reporting about the current state of his contract, because if you remember, the initial deal was for those 3 Sony movies, then there were the 3 MCU films, and some of the conditions of this were, in every Spider-Man movie, you'd have to have an Avenger. Then they went through that whole restructuring contract where briefly, Spider-Man was out of the MCU, and presumably they signed a new contract that some people report had 6 films on it, but then it seems unclear whether or not that's just referring to the initial contract itself. So this is sort of news, but something we knew was lingering out there for Tom Holland to re-sign and have a new deal with Marvel. And I think ultimately Sony knows that their best chance to make money with this IP, outside of what they're doing with the animated stuff in Miles Morales, which we will talk about in just a second, because Amy Pascal just weighed in on a live-action Miles Morales project. They know that Spider-Man being with the MCU, and for now, is the place that it makes the most sense, because that's where he's been. And I'm sure there are execs over at Sony who really had ambitions, and probably still do, of getting Peter Parker, Tom Holland's Peter Parker, into the Sony Spider-Verse. But it seems like, again, with the reports, if you missed that most recent video, that they're going to find a way to get Tom Hardy's Venom into the MCU, and that way capitalize on all the money they've made with Venom. And let's face it, Marvel is not going to mind tapping into the power of that franchise to add value to the film that they're doing. Now, keep in mind, again, there were reports going back to about early 2023 that talked about a new secret deal that had been reworked between Sony and Marvel with Tom Holland. Nothing has been confirmed by the industry trades. This is the latest we've had an official update, as official as we can get from an industry insider source, about them working on a new deal. We'll have to wait and see what those details look like, but keep in mind, as soon as any dollar amount can get sniffed out by one of these Hollywood trades, they're going to turn it over. The same way they did with Robert Downey Jr.'s number for what happened with what he just did with Doom, because let's face it, these are some of the biggest Marvel actors. They are getting some of the biggest insane contracts out there, so I don't expect this to stay quiet for a while when the news is actually done and what this contract looks like. But they've never really been that quick to disclose how many times and the places he's going to show up, and I actually really hope that this is in order to allow more appearances for Spider-Man, especially for movies and projects that he should naturally have crossover with. Obviously, with the introduction of the Fantastic Four, they are going to have a ton, or at least need a ton of time with Spider-Man, and I know what we all really want to see is Spider-Man team up with Daredevil, which I wouldn't be so sure Marvel, even with these 2 TV show seasons coming out for him, isn't thinking down the road about Daredevil on the silver screen, maybe not just for the Avengers films, but an eventual Daredevil movie down the road. And wouldn't it make sense if, doing these sort of renegotiations, they left the door open for Spider-Man to show up in cameos in maybe projects he normally wouldn't? And what I mean by that are, traditionally, it's just Spider-Man films and the Avengers films. Now, talking about long-term planning and from Sony's point of view, we actually just heard from Amy Pascal about a live-action Miles Morales movie. She's had quotes in the past about only after they make certain films, but this most recent one, reported literally yesterday and by Screen Rant, is that they're not making a Miles Morales live-action movie until after Beyond the Spider-Verse is complete. But that may be sooner than you think, or at least next up for them, because even though there were rumors that that movie had been completely scratched and that it would be delayed till 2027, we may end up getting that movie before the end of next year, 2025. So there is still a ton of future live-action Spider-Man stuff that Sony is willing to bring us outside of Peter Parker, but I think that this next deal, which, again, you don't want to think about it in terms of 2 decades or a decade, but that's what it ends up being, is at least going to be for the 5 films, a new trilogy, 2 Avengers films, and then maybe 1 or 2 other spots, which should easily take Tom Holland up until about 2033 or 2034 if they get to the end of a new trilogy. You guys let me know, though, all your thoughts down below. Where should Peter Parker be showing up, say like in the Fantastic Four, teaming up with Daredevil? Where do you want to see him in the MCU? I definitely hope that he makes it to fight alongside some of the X-Men. That would just be so cool, but hopefully, fingers crossed, Sony and Marvel get it worked out, and rather soon when we find out the details. You guys let me know all your thoughts down below. Quickly, let's get into the giveaway stuff before I let you go. Again, we are starting up the watch parties for Agatha all along tonight. It's going live at 6 on the West Coast, 9 on the East Coast, so we'll go live about 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, an hour beforehand. And if you were planning on watching it anyway, you might as well come hang out with us here at the channel. A lot of great discussion and theories in the community before and after the show, so come by and see us for the watch party. Otherwise, we are still giving away PlayStation 5s. The next one is the finale of Agatha. All you got to do, be a sub, leave a comment, because it's truly random. The more videos you comment on, the better chance you have of winning. All winners will be announced at the end of videos in the same segment we're doing here, live with my voice and a winning comment shown when there is one. The best way to keep up with the content has always been to hit the notification bell with all notifications turned on, and as always, if you like today's video, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit the like button. My name's Michael Roman. Find me on Instagram and Twitter at I'mFires. You can also find me on all platforms with original music under the name Allfires, and if there's any baseheads who watch this video and you're going to be at Lost Lands Festival this weekend, I will actually be sitting in with my homie KJ Saga. We will be playing a set live at 2 a.m. On Friday night. So we'll see you out there for the late night drum and bass. See you guys in the next one. Peace.